Welcome to Carolina Sports Weekly, your only source for discussion and analysis of Carolina sports. I'm Elizabeth Singletary. Thanks for joining me. In this week's episode, we will talk Mack Brown, men's basketball's recent woes, and women's soccer. Flashback to 3 years ago, the week before conference championships in football. The Carolina football team was sitting at 11-1, losing only its first game of the season. Larry Fedora was being praised for his coaching, turning around a team that went 6-7 the previous year. The Tar Heels were eyeing their upcoming game, a game against number 1 Clemson in the ACC championship. UNC would go on to lose 45-37 after a terrible offsides penalty on a successful onside kick. The Tar Heels would then lose to number 17 Baylor 49-38 in the Russell Athletic Bowl, but the Heels finished 11-3 on the season, their best performance since 1997 when Mack Brown was head coach. Now fast forward to this year. The Tar Heels finished an abysmal 2-9, and on November 25th, head coach Larry Fedora was fired just 3 seasons after finishing second in the ACC. The new hire, Mack Brown, the man who turned the program around in the 1980s and 90s, starting off with a 1-10 record in his first season and ending with a 10-1 record in his last season. So, the question is, will he be able to turn the football program around once again? With the academic scandal behind it, the program isn't turning away recruits anymore in fear of ramifications from the scandal. In other words, Mack Brown has free reign at any recruits he wants. For me, it isn't about his previous success as a coach or the recruits he will try to bring into Chapel Hill. It's his age and how invested he will be in revitalizing the program. Sitting at 67, Brown is the 5th oldest coach in college football. Yes, Nick Saban is also 67, but he's in his 12th season at Alabama and has created the best program in college football. He doesn't have to try to turn it around. He already did years ago, and he just has to maintain his dominance, which is much easier than creating it. All in all, Brown will be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame later this year, and he has already seen a multitude of success at Texas, including a national championship. I don't question his abilities as a coach. I question his incentive to prove himself once again when he's been out of the coaching game for 5 years and already has a hearty retirement ahead of him. Basically, he doesn't need Carolina football to prove his worth, and by the time it takes to turn the program around, he might already have one foot out of the door. Now to the sport that embodies the spirit of Carolina, men's basketball. After losing 2 starters from last year in Joel Berry and Theo Pinson, the team looked like it would fare the same this year, returning 3 starters, including All-American Luke May. The question was, how good would the 3 highly rated freshmen be? Kobe White has taken over for Berry at the point guard position, including his number 2, and has shown flashes of brilliancy, while also showing that he is indeed a freshman. His quickness and playmaking abilities are undeniable, but his inexperience as a freshman has shown through. Given it is still the beginning of the season, these things are expected for a freshman, and I think he'll continue to improve over the course of the season. White has done a sufficient job in filling the shoes of Berry, so why did the Tar Heels lose to an unranked Texas and get demolished by 7th-ranked Michigan? The answer? Luke May's inconsistency. Being a senior and the top player coming back from last season, May should be able to be depended on as a contributor. The most points he has scored this season is 24, which came in the first game against Wofford. Since then, he hasn't even been able to eclipse 20. He's heavily depended on as a scorer for this team, and when he isn't able to do so, other players are looking to fill the void, which ends up in resulting in the mess you saw on the court against Michigan. In essence, if the Tar Heels want to do better, Luke May needs to step up his game. But if you think UNC is a basketball school, you might want to think again. It's actually a women's soccer school. Dean Smith said it, not me. The team has won 21 national championships, the most in the country. The next team up, Notre Dame, with 3. But the program's last national championship came in 2012, the longest streak without a national championship in program history. This past weekend, the squad tried to end that streak in the College Cup in Cary. On Friday, it took the Heels 2 overtimes to advance to the championship game. In the second overtime, senior Julia Ashley, the equivalent of a Marcus Page for you basketball fans, ran the length of the field, eventually scoring the game-winning goal and sending the Tar Heels to the national championship. Unfortunately, even in the presence of Roy Williams, the women were unable to pull off the win, losing to Florida State 1-0. The thousands of Carolina fans there to cheer them on were very upset. The team they had followed all season long had come up short. As sports fans say, there's always next year. That'll do it for this week's edition of Carolina Sports Weekly. I'm Elizabeth Singletary, and as always, you can stay up to date with all things Carolina athletics on all of our social media accounts, and make sure to tune in next week, same time, same place.